Remembering also Norm Macdonald, who passed away, one of the funniest guys in the world, and a very good friend of Adam Carolla. He was on with Adam a ton of times. And Adam has a total amount of, just an unbelievable amount of respect for Norm Macdonald. And Adam is with us. Adam Carolla, how are you, sir?
Well, considering pretty good.
Yeah, when I heard the news today, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've gotten a lot of texts and a lot of news saying so and so has died, and I had a really tough reaction to this one. I have no idea he was even sick.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that how you're impacted by the hearing of somebody's demise, and it's not really all about their age. It's more about, were you done with that person? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when you look, my dad turned 90 today. If he died tomorrow, fine. I was done with him in 1973. but like Eddie Van Halen, I could have used. You know what I mean?
Who would imagine that Carolla in 90 seconds would have us laughing as we talk about the loss of Norm Macdonald?
But I mean, seriously, it's like I could have used some more Norm Macdonald. I could use some more Eddie Van Halen. There's a lot of these, or I could have used some more Heath Ledger. There's people that I could have used more of, and then there are other people that are like, look, Anna Nicole Smith died. We didn't need to use any more of her. And while we weren't celebrating, you didn't have that feeling that you have when you hear about Norm dying, because you're like, that guy had a lot more to do.
Right.
There's more we could have got out of him.
All I'm envisioning is your dad's at Denny's, and one of the waitresses says, "Hey, I heard your son on Conway's show last night." "Oh, what did he say about me?"
Yeah.
Well, the thing about this is that it was so sudden, too, Adam. The fact, I think it's a gut punch because he's only 61 and no one knew he was suffering with this illness for so long.
Right.
Yeah, I should say, if that scenario ever happened at Denny's, Conway, my dad would say, "Who?" And then they'd go, "Tim Conway Jr." And then my dad would go, "No, I know that guy. Who was the other guy you were talking about?"
Carolla's run on his dad is pretty continuously funny.
Oh, that's so classic, man. But he was a big part of my comedy. Whenever I was down and I wanted to watch YouTube and get away from politics and idiots and COVID and stuff, I would bring up old Norm Macdonald stuff, and everything would just fade away, man. You'd just be laughing and forget about everything else. And there are very few people you can tune into like that.
Yeah, I agree. On my podcast tomorrow, we're going to play this long conversation we had, but it was really role playing. And the thing about Norm is, it wasn't, things had to be weird and esoteric and interesting. And it was a long riff on Kenny Rogers and the Coward of the County. And we just broke down the song over the course of half an hour. And it's only Norm could have done that. I think his approach to comedy that you never really saw coming, sort of the angles, I think that's why comedians appreciated Norm so much, is because he always picked a unique angle to come at things and a premise. And it was, you always look forward to hearing his angle and his take on everything.
Right, and he was never really like a Hollywood guy. Leno, who we just had on, Jay Leno said, you would see him at an El Pollo Loco, and that's who he was. You just see him at a coffee shop by himself, and he was totally comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he thought of himself as funny. I think he just thought of himself as Norm. I think he was just saying things he thought of. I don't even know. They're probably in his mind, half of them weren't even bits. They were just Norm-isms. But yeah, he was easy and regular. I mean, a little that's the Canadian way. It seems like they're not as, full of themselves as a lot of folks from California are. But he was unique and funny and interesting, and again, feel like there was a lot more there that we could have used out of Norm.
Yeah, I went back to look at. I have a bunch of CDs from when I was with Steckler and then Whitman over at KLSX, and I was looking for a Norm Macdonald CD, and I couldn't find anything. Of course, it was labeling everything, so everything was just there was nothing on any of the CDs.
I literally, Tim, I literally was driving in today. I was talking to my producer. I said, now, we've had Norm on the podcast a few times, and we're kind of talking about bits, and I said, well, what? And he said, well, it's unclear what's what because things aren't really clearly labeled. And I just said, well, first off, things were more clearly labeled before they invented labelers, number one. Our forefathers labeled stuff before there were labelers better than we do now. And with computers, is there really any excuse other than I'm the laziest person on the planet? But I literally this morning, we were talking about Norm, and I was like, people should get better at labeling. I really feel like they should.
That's so great. Every one of the CDs I have, it just says Conway and Steckler, November 5th. And that's it. That's the only information.
Right.
So I got to now put every single one of them into a CD player and figure out what's on them. But that was his job. I did my job because my voice is on the CD. Now I got to do his job.
Well, the good news is we've labeled Malibu Dan lazy.
That's right. That's great, man. I tell you, did you ever get an opportunity to play cards with Norm?
No, I hung out with Norm quite a bit, doing many different various projects and
right.
and different things we did together. But I never gambled with Norm because I knew Norm. The thing about real gamblers is you can't just bring your nickel jar to the table and tap out because it's a 20-cent ante. They're into it. You're going big. You're essentially going out drinking with Janis Joplin, which is fine, but you better be ready to drink.
That's right. Yeah, right.
You're not just going to have a Michelob Ultra and watch her mow through a handle of Southern Comfort.
That's great. All right, Adam. So what time? So tomorrow on the podcast, Norm Macdonald, and did you guys get an opportunity to talk about him today or on today's program?
Yeah, it's on today's program. I mean, okay. It'll be on tomorrow's, which comes out at 9 p.m. Our time, midnight Eastern. It'll drop, but it's a tribute to Norm. But if you guys want to laugh, listen to us break down Ruby and Coward of the County by Kenny Rogers, and you'll see Norm at his best.
Excellent. But I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll be listening and downloading it tonight.
Yeah, good stuff, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
All right, there he goes, Adam Carolla, and that's one of the few guys in the world. I think Carolla's right up there with Norm Macdonald. One of the few guys that can make you laugh your ass off when remembering another comic. Has such a great line about his dad. I was done with my dad in 1973. It only makes him like 10 years old when he was done with him. It's so great.